Okay, so hey everyone. So this is going to be the first video in a series of tutorial videos on how to install Trisquel Linux. So, well, not install and also use in the end. So, the very first thing we have to do is to install Trisquel Linux. Now, what you're going to have to do is probably going to be using VirtualBox to do this. There are other virtual machines that you can use to achieve this, but VirtualBox is free, and because it's under GPL and the trademarks are, I can use them. I've chosen to use VirtualBox, but you can have, there's also VMware, QEMU, and so on. A machine. So once you've installed VirtualBox, you'll be going to new, or add new, sorry, which is up in here and in the toolbar. Click new, and what you'll get is a window where you're going to enter the name of the particular virtual machine. Now you're just going to call it, anything you want. I'm just going to call it, since we're installing Trisquel, I'm just going to call it Trisquel Linux. Trisquel Linux. Now, the type down here, of course, is Linux. It's automatically selected for you. This machine folder, this is where your virtual machine files will be. So you'll be able to find the hard disk file that contains, or it's basically a virtual hard disk, so it'll contain files that you actually be using within the Trisquel Linux virtual machine. And it will also contain the information about the virtual machine, so the RAM size of the RAM, the CPU you've chosen, and so on in the settings of this VirtualBox once it's installed. Well, once it has installed, once you've set it up, once you've set up the virtual machine. So, type Linux and version. I don't think it has Trisquel, but Trisquel is based on Ubuntu, so I'm going to be choosing Ubuntu 64-bit. Now, when you're downloading your Trisquel, there are two versions, of course, which one is 32-bit, which will have it'll have i686 at the end of the file. Otherwise, if it's 64-bit, it will be AMD 64 at the end of the file name when you download it. Now, I've chosen the 64-bit. Every PC processor these days is going to be 64-bit, so it's a safe bet that yours is, unless you have like a really ancient thing like a Pentium 2 or Core 2 Duo even. So 64-bit, and then press continue. Now this is where we're starting to set some of those settings I was referring to in that settings folder. It's going to be in that directory we just chose. Now this is just asking for how much RAM you want. Ubuntu will need a fair bit of RAM, so I'm going to be, I think I have, depending on how much RAM you actually have, physical RAM you have available, because what this is actually saying is how much you're going to dedicate to Trisquel, and the rest it's available, I suppose, when this is running, when this actual virtual machine is running, will be what you select here for Trisquel. So I don't know what the system rights exactly are for Ubuntu, but I'm just going to have it at about 2 gigabytes, 2048. You will be able to find this information on the internet. Just search Ubuntu system requirements, and the latest version will give you, the system requirements version will give you how much RAM it needs. I'm just going to say 2 gigabytes because I don't know. Oh, and it'll actually tell you the maximum amount of RAM here. So I have a maximum of 16 gigabytes, which is a lot. So you can set it. You can really set it anything about 1 gigabyte. It should be fine. I'm just setting it 2. Okay, hard disk. Now, this is basically where all your files are going to be going once you've got this Trisquel Linux going. in VirtualBox. So you have it's saying that the recommended size is 10 gigabytes. So this is probably be based on the latest version of Ubuntu. I know that my hard disk has 128 gigabytes, being a MacBook Pro. So you have various options, 3 options here. The first one, do not add a virtual hard disk. That will just, what that will do is it'll just have an empty hard disk. So it's like having a computer with no hard disk in it at all. The second option, create a virtual hard disk now, is pretty much what we want. We just want to create like an empty hard disk that we can install Trisquel Linux onto. So pretty much we want that. Use an existing virtual hard disk file. Now this could be used in the case that maybe you want to try and recycle a hard disk file from another installation of an operating system. Yeah, you'd just be selecting that and then doing a browse to find the file. But in this case, because it's a new operating system install, we're just going to be installing it onto an empty one. So we select this one, create. Now, so yeah, you can see empty, so it's giving an indication now. I'm going to make this about 20. I don't know how much memory I have left. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how much memory I have left. I'll leave it at the recommended size. There should be another screen coming up here to say whether it can be a variable, but it doesn't seem to anymore. Now, yeah, these are the different versions. This hard disk file type. These are the different versions of the type of file that you can create for your hard disk. Some of them can be opened in different different programs. Different programs that are like VirtualBox, like VMware and QEMU and so on. Some of them are portable to that. You could say portable, you can open them in those programs. But some of them are specific to a particular program. So the most portable that I think it is VHD. I'm just going to make it a VHD. Now, this is where it's asking about the hard disk, whether it'll expand in size once you've run out of space on it with that initial 10 gigabytes, I guess, or you just want it to remain 10 gigabytes and not expand once it runs out of space. So obviously, to make these things easy, I'm just going to have it dynamically allocated so that, yeah. Oh, I think the other thing is that when it's dynamically allocated, let's see what it says here. Oh, okay, so when it says dynamically allocated, what that actually means is that it will start off with the amount of, like when you're actually, once you've installed the Trisquel Linux, whatever that's taking up, that's the space that will be, displayed, right? So, what the thing is that you're not having a complete 10 gigabyte hard disk, 10 gigabyte file, when you're only using about, I don't know, 2 or so gigabytes for the Trisquel Linux. So you will save on space if you have it dynamically allocated. Instead of having 10 gigabytes all up front when just using a little bit for the operating system, you will have the whole hard disk the same size as the operating system, and it will expand out to a maximum of 10 gigabytes when you need it. So I'm going to have it dynamically allocated. And what's this? Select the size. Of course, this is the default size was 10 gigabytes. So I may make the maximum a bit higher than that, given that it's dynamically allocated in the beginning anyway. So yeah, it will only be taking up as much as it needs. I'll just make this 20. You can do whatever you want, whatever you think how big your hard disk is going to be. If you're doing lots of movies and things like this, maybe you might want to make it bigger. So then it will go and create your virtual machine here, as you can see, called Trisquel Linux, since it's powered off. So this here is the settings I was referring to. It's going to be in that settings file in the virtual machines directory, which should be on the Mac. It'll be your user directory virtual machine. There'll be sorry, VirtualBox VMs under there. You can actually just port, this is what I mean, you can copy those files onto any VirtualBox computer, even a PC, and it'll show up in there as a, show up here as a virtual machine once you've added it by pressing add. But that's besides the point. So what we want to do is to start, we want to put in, essentially what we're doing here now is putting in a DVD of Trisquel Linux, the default Trisquel Linux installation DVD. So we want to look at storage, if I can, yep, that's storage. So as you can see here, this first area here, this is referring to the actual hard disk controller that you have in your computer. So you can think of this like the, I suppose the cable in your motherboard. Yeah, if you ever make computers, it's the cable in your motherboard, and you're just connecting a hard disk to this. So in order to do that, you'll be using the plus button, of course, which is one of these. This one, I think. Yes, because that's the hard disk symbol there. So as you can see, we have our VHD hard disk here, and all we need to do is select it. And basically, you can think of this as the physical hard disk itself, and we're just connecting it to the cable. Okay, so we'll be selecting that and saying choose. That will put our, oh, sorry about that. No, we don't want to do that because remove that shit. Sorry. We want to leave this as it is, because as we can see here, the SATA controller here has the Trisquel Linux hard disk already connected here, okay? So we'll be leaving this one as, well, we won't be leaving it as is, but this is the one here for the hard disk. This is the first video. Okay, so now we want to actually put this DVD into the DVD drive. So we can think of this as the DVD drive here, which it says empty. Okay, so all we need to do now is to basically put this DVD in. So that's what you do with this button here, this DVD button that looks like a DVD. Just click that, and you'll be going to choose a disk file, because we have an image down. You will have an image downloaded from the Trisquel Linux site, and that's basically your DVD, and it will function the same as a DVD, as a physical DVD. So I have mine in Trisquel here. It's an ISO, of course, .iso, and I said AMD64. Just click open there, and as you can see now, it's showing the image file name here, and that's sort of indicating that you've put your DVD into your drive. Okay, so now that's all you really need to do in this settings area. The other thing you might want to do is set up a shared folder, because this is how we get the files in and out of this, out of this virtual machine. So what I mean by that is that it will once you've got your Trisquel installed, you'll be able to see a folder in the file manager that you can use, that's connected to. This is the path to that folder. So what that means is, this is the folder you want to use on your Mac to put those files into your Trisquel Linux. So the way I usually do it is using VirtualBox VMs. Actually, no. I just make a folder in my home directory. If I can find that. Anyway, let's see here. Maybe it's up here. Yeah, home directory, and I usually just call that VM share, and that's all. That will be the folder. It's not isolated to Trisquel Linux, and you can actually add it to other ones as well. So this you'll be putting there. That's the folder you want to use. That's the name it'll appear in Trisquel, and you want it to auto mount. You don't want it to be read-only because it's bi-directional. We don't want to just be able to take things out of the folder in Trisquel. We also want to write some. The mount point. Now, in Linux, of course, you have the mount point, which means the folder that this is going to appear in. once it's connected, or once it's once